More team talk today as we discuss team members. Who should you hire? What should you pay them? All the common questions we get here at WBNL Coaching.
And all that good stuff today on the WBNL podcast.
This is the Wandering But Not Lost WBNL podcast, where real estate and reality meet. And now your hosts, Jan O'Brien and Matt Emerson.
Well, welcome to the WBNL Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. This is episode 204. You can find all of our show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. Jan O'Brien, I have been enjoying this team building series. It's been a while since we've talked about that. And we've covered a lot of stuff already about how you kind of decide whether you're not going to build a team, what kind of teams there are out there. Kind of a little more about some of the process a little bit. But today we're going to touch upon something that I know that you get a lot of questions on. And that's, what kind of people to bring onto your team or what kind of roles to have. And then more importantly, is something that always trips people up because you don't know what you don't know, is how to compensate those people. So that's on our conversation for today.
Yes, and I'm excited to chat about it because I have recently been speaking to particular coaching clients that are building teams and a couple new prospective coaching clients. And these, it's the common, I'm going to cover today the common things that I'll do in a consultation with someone. And everyone's a little different. So, what we believe here is there are some general rules of team building, right? There's some general strategies that you apply to any kind of business, but everything is very custom, in my opinion, to who you are, what you're looking for. And so with that in mind, we will talk a little bit about giving you some ideas. And that's part of what we do when we're coaching with you is get all the information about your brokerage. What is your situation? Right. What are you looking for to give you the best guidance on here are scenarios. In our team builder program, we have examples. We have partnership checklists. We have example team member contracts. We have an entire hiring process. We have all those details for you.
We have a lot of those details and contracts. And before we get started, let's talk about that for a second. We do have a couple of courses that we've been talking about over the team building series here. We have an intro to team building course that you can get for absolutely free to see really if team building is right for you. A lot of people that get our team builder course actually start with this course. So we invite you to do that as well. Go over to WBNLcoaching.com, go to our freebies page and sign up for our intro to team building course. And then also our signature course, obviously, Real Estate Team Builder, 12 hours of on-demand video. Like Jan was just saying, we have every checklist imaginable in there, over 110 documents, checklists, files, systems, all of that stuff over there. That's also on WBNLcoaching.com in our courses section. And this month through May 31st, we're running a special offer. God bless you, Jan O'Brien, 20% off of our team builder course, which regularly retails for $997, so 20% off of that. And we also have another bundle of courses over on WBNL Coaching that includes about 4 of our courses. Team Builder is one of them. Our Sales Builder course, which is really great because if you're going to build a team, you're going to want to train your agents probably, or make sure that they are, up to speed with everything that's happening in the world today in real estate. So that's part of that course as well. A couple other courses in there that actually retails for $14.97. You get 20% off that as well this month through May 31st if you go and sign up. Sometime in the next few weeks. So go check those out over in WBNLcoaching.com.
Love it. All right, so let's dive in. We're going to start talking first about administrative support, okay? Because honestly, I feel like this is generally the first step. So when somebody is talking to me, and even through the years as a broker, my rule of thumb has been if you're closing 2 transactions consistently, 6 months or two closings, you really ought to have an assistant, because you're doing 25% of the tasks that we do in the real estate business are things that we could definitely delegate. So an administrative, I want to talk about the various roles that you could have someone do for you. And then let's just have a discussion, Matt, about various ways that you could accomplish this if you weren't ready to dive in. Right. One of them would be to try to find somebody part-time. It's generally harder to find somebody part-time, but not impossible. So, finding someone that works 20 hours a week, that does certain things. But I've listed here, administrative assistant, like an executive assistant, is a title. But the roles an admin plays for a real estate professional are transaction coordination, possibly. Maybe an inside sales agent could be another role that you have it could be done by a real estate agent, and that's generally the person making the calls to the leads, which also brings up another title of leads coordinator. You have listing manager duties. When you think about if you're a listing agent, there are so many things an assistant can help you with. Getting prepared for the listing, prepping the paperwork, doing the follow-up, getting the marketing, which brings into another area, marketing manager. The marketing manager could be, the listing manager could be doing things that are specific to marketing the listing, like getting it out to all the platforms, if you're doing videos and so forth. And marketing manager can be everything else that has something to do with marketing.
Yeah, including social media, which is very important.
Social media mainly, but it could also be, your flyers, your materials, everything that you do, you're probably using Canva like we do. And I've also listed a hybrid licensed agent / admin. So I want to start with that idea first. So recently I've talked to a couple prospective clients that, in the free consultation that I do about they kind of need of a licensed buyer's agent, but they're also needing an assistant. And I've seen this happen many times, and I just call it the hybrid, agent / admin. So this person is someone who, until you're really ready to hire an agent, an administrative assistant full time, because that's what I think, Matt, is the issue. A lot of people are worried about a couple things. Can I make enough money to pay that person? The things that we see that people push back on getting an admin is, I don't have the time to train them. What if I make the wrong decision? It's a waste. I might as well just do it myself. Nobody can do it as well as I can. Those are the common things that I hear. But the reality is, if you're really busy and you're closing 2, 3, 4 deals a month, you're wearing yourself out, if you don't have somebody to help you with that. So it's worth going through the process. And we're going to talk a little bit about that hire process. We're going to hit the high levels of it, and we have it in depth in our training program. But step one is you've got to get really clear about what is it that you want. And what I have everyone do is take a document that we have if you don't already have it. And I like people to start with, and this is my best, if anybody is listening and you're thinking about you need to hire an assistant, this is what I want you to do. I want you to get a checklist out, hopefully you have one, that has everything that you do from A to Z when you take a listing, everything that you do A to Z when you are working with a buyer. And then all the other, because the majority of what you do is mixed in there somewhere. But then you also have, what are the other marketing tasks? If it's not related to a buyer or seller, what do you do to stay in touch with your database? What are all those tasks that you're not doing maybe, that you need to be doing to run your business? And you can look at it from before, during, and after on that part about your clients when you have a buyer or seller. But it's all the other things you do to run your business. You need to get that all out of your head in somewhere. And then what you do next is you put a check mark next to or highlight the things that you would like to have someone else do. This is a great exercise to now start getting clear about what's the job description of what you want. Now, you may have a ton on there and you're not ready to hand all of it off, or maybe you're not ready to take the big step and hire someone who can handle all that. Maybe, down the line as you grow, frankly, Matt, we know people that have 2 and 3 folks in the admin covering these specific things. Okay. So back to this hybrid agent, if you're just by yourself and you would like the idea of having a licensed assistant who could be handled showings for you, for example, or you could hand a buyer off to, or could do things that require a license, and they're good at the admin and they want to take on doing some TC for you or other administrative roles, that's an interesting role, because that's where you could possibly pay somebody part-time money, and then they are also on a split within your team underneath the brokerage, and then maybe they're getting a lead or 2 from you, and that can make everybody happy. Okay.
I would think in today's environment, after coming out of the pandemic, like we all have, that finding part-time people might be easier than it was in the past. Are you finding that to be true?
Yes, I do. And I think there's a lot of people, we just know for sure that, in our training, I go through this pyramid that has 4 areas to it. And the top is the team leader, which is less than 10%. That's the big risk entrepreneur person. The next one down, which I think is about 20% of the people, these are the folks that are supervisors and managers that might make a good overall person here. And then there's the team individual people who just aren't going to really cut it on their own. And that's the bulk of the group. And the bottom of the pyramid is all the part-timers and hobbyists. There's tons of licensees. I just saw an article about, actually it was a TikTok on how many, and it was quoting an article from NAR actually about how the Great Recession has turned into, a boon for real estate agents getting into the business. Like 150,000 people nationally went out, more than normal, went out and got a real estate license.
Right.
And I'm not surprised by that. And the reality is 75% of them aren't going to be here in a year. I don't care that we had a pandemic and people are wanting to work from home or, and that is the issue of why, when we're sitting here talking about why some people fit on teams, is that everyone has this dream when they left whatever they did and they got a real estate license that they could just kind of go get a license and show up and make $100,000. And we all know that have been in the business. Trust me, I know right now, getting back into it, trying to do it sillily, is that a word? Crazily, whatever, question my mental status in 2 locations.
Right.
That you're talking about 50, 60, 70 hours a week of what it is that you have to do and getting uncomfortable to make it and working hard for a year or two to make it so that you can enjoy it.
What you're talking about, getting those checklists out and marking up the checklist and things that you want to delegate, is a really good exercise for a couple of reasons. One, you can really identify what you want to actually get off your plate. But also, if you're done with that checklist and not very much is checked off, that means you have not yet reached the point of knowing how or feeling as though you can delegate your own stuff. You don't either trust or you don't feel like you're ready for that. Maybe you just need to think a little bit more about, maybe this is the right time to build your team, because you have to be able to delegate big whenever you can, and trust. And because we're going to talk about it in a minute, if you're hiring the right people, there should be no problem with that trust and that the value there. So,
and you nailed it. It's a big issue for most
a lot of people
personalities who are controlling. It's hard to trust that other people are going to do it. And one other thing here to consider is, do you have a transaction coordinator in your company, for example? A lot of folks do. And maybe a smart role is to have somebody doing this right now. Leverage the company TC. In fact, one of my clients has, because of the split structure and stuff they have some marketing that the company will provide as part of the, so you can try leveraging those things. I thought, it may work for you. Sometimes people just want somebody that really just reports to them. So it's up to you, but you could step into this by leveraging a few things. And I've just talked about, like, that agent/admin, to just literally hiring somebody who has experience, to maybe having the TC functions in the company or an outside service. And then you hire somebody to do all the other things. So there's a lot of options, but it starts with, you have to be clear about what you want. All right.
Right.
So let's talk about a little bit about, I think we talked about compensation for this. So I just want to hit this on a high level so that you can get you thinking. So when we're talking about admin compensation, so there's a couple different ways that I recommend people look at it. Well, first thing I'm going to say to you is, depending on where you are in the world, in the US or Canada, that's what we have people in Canada listening to us. Go see what is the going rate, okay, for an administrative assistant. And you can go to places like Indeed, Glassdoor, go to the hiring places, and look for what is your competition putting out there for an ad, which, by the way, is a great way to get some information, and see. So I've got like 14 to 16 an hour. A good way to start is hourly, and then for the first 90 days, and then evaluate after 90 days, and then you could add bonuses or you could change that. No, that's a lot of companies do that. Give you 90 days, and then could be after 60 days, whatever you want. Then if we're a fit, then we'll go to X dollars an hour. That's one way to do it. Then you can do that hourly wage, as I just mentioned, plus bonus after that initial 90-day review. And that might look something like the person's making $15 an hour, and then you have this list of duties that they're doing, which is a lot of the stuff that we just talked about. And then when you have a closing, now what happens is you're just sharing a little bit of that closing instead of putting more money on the upfront. Now, a lot of people just want more upfront guaranteed money, right? Yep. And if you find the right person who's happy with whatever that hourly wage is, and then when you close, that could be $100, $200, whatever your price point is, whatever makes sense. You could actually come up with, if you sell houses all over the place and your average sales price is, 400, so up to 400, it's 150. And then anything over, 400 and up is, 200 or 250. And the person can see that you're growing. And when you're going through the hiring process, if you've got a picture of, come on board with me and help me get organized, because that's what most of you need too, by the way. A great assistant can come in and get those checklists together for you, build that operations manual for you. And if they have the vision, and they might ultimately be able to come in and do the admin and move up into a manager position for you later, as an example. But they're doing the grunt work with you right now, and if they can see that vision, then maybe you're going to grow a team of 10 people, and they're going to benefit from that as well. All right. So bonus on closings, clearly. And then you can also do a structure where it's a bonus on profit. I know some folks that share a percentage, 1-2%, or higher of their profit quarterly or at the end of the year. Or maybe you set a goal about when we hit this number. Like for example, if somebody brings an assistant in and they're closing 2 deals a month without the assistant, maybe the thing is with your help assistant and me focusing on more lead generation, when I get to this many closings, or then I'm going to give you a bonus. Like you don't bonus people off of what you were going to do anyway. The whole goal of the assistant is to take your business higher, if that's what you want to do. Some people want to do the same amount of money and not work as hard, so you have to be clear about that. And then the last option is just to hire somebody on a salary. We pay you $2,500 a month, and then we have a bonus structure and any of these other things in between. If they're going to later become like a team manager, this person, then it can be sharing in the commissions of the agents underneath. There's just a variety, a myriad, actually, I should say, of ways.
A plethora, you would dare say.
A plethora of ideas on how to do this. Now, one other point on this is, if you're paying, might highly recommend that you go through a payroll service. Don't get yourself into a pickle of paying people under the table, and you have contracts with them, and if there are issues and disputes later, then they could take it to the labor board. So do it through a payroll service, okay? If you're paying somebody strictly commissions, then that can be through the brokerage. You never pay commissions as an agent. The broker always has to pay commissions, so you should talk to your broker first about how they handle teams and sharing of commissions inside of their brokerage. And then you'll be able to come up with the right way to do all that. Okay, so
it's interesting, Jan, because this is such an important part of the process. And we start all of our team builder stuff out by saying, first things first, get your house in order before you get started. This is where having a business plan and knowing your budget is so important, because this is a place, and Jan and I have seen this happen for years in all of our experience in real estate, that this is not the place to go cheap. You're not going to get the quality person. You're not going to get the person that's going to be loyal to you and dedicated to you for over a period of time. Not the people that are going to want to have a career path with you. So do not go cheap. I'm not saying be crazy and just give all your money away, but at the same time, you have to have a budget for this that is going to be something that is going to be attractive. In a way, put yourself in their shoes and say, is this something that would be attractive to you as you're doing that? So it's super important that you do not just immediately go cheap on this, because you will regret that, and it's going to put you back, and it's going to prevent you from moving forward faster.
I agree. So you get what you pay for, right?
You do. That's perfect. Right.
Before we move on, licensed versus unlicensed. This is another exercise I would have everybody go through. And it just made me trigger this point that you don't get yourself into trouble allowing an unlicensed person to do things like use a lockbox or log in and go show a property or technically talk real estate to anybody.
Right. Consult at all. Right.
In my opinion, you need a licensed assistant. If you want to get the most, and because most people want to be able to go, oh my gosh, hey, licensed assistant Matt, can you go show this property? I'm late over here with these folks.
I got a home inspection. Can you jump into the home inspection? It's really
open up the lockbox. Okay, that all has to be done with a licensed person.
And we haven't really talked about recruiting, but the chances, if you even an admin assistant, we're probably going to be involved in the recruiting process. Another place not to go cheap, because that's money in your pocket if you have new people coming on your team. So agreed.
Okay, so that's kind of the flow, and then the last part we want to talk about here, which by the way, I think you can put this hiring process in slightly modified when you're hiring a licensee, a team member, a buyer's agent to your team. So look, we have a 3-phase process that we have in our hire onboarding system. And phase 1 is the attract hire. Now I've just set you up for the first part, which is you need to create your job description. And that is what takes a little bit of work.
Yeah. And
it's your job description. And and frankly, in our team builder program, we have got, like, I just shared this with, one of my clients that's a team builder person. I reminded him where there's like 5 job descriptions of those things that we just mentioned. We've written those job descriptions that you can take and make better, because I find it so hard for people to sit down and start writing. But if I gave you here's a comprehensive list of administrative assistant functions in a listing manager's function, you'd be able to take that and create one for yourself. All right, that's one of many of 110 documents. There's about 5 of them right there that are going to help you with that. And then you're going to need to we could do a whole show on various ways to find people, but you're going to want to write an ad and post it. And what I mean by that is at least on Indeed.com. Indeed.com will push to other places. I've looked for help people look, and you just on Google and you're looking for administrative assistant in your town, and it's pulling the ad from Indeed and all the other places. There's other places you can go to. Glassdoor, you can go to, ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter is one of those places where you submit it and pay for it, and then it sends it out to every conceivable. It's like, think about listing, list hub for most that have it. Your listing gets out to 100 sites or whatever. But you need to get that done. But it's not the only way. You want to let everybody know, from your database to your management team, to get the word out. You may know somebody in your own database that knows someone who's licensed or was licensed or would be a good administrative assistant. You need to put this stuff up on your social or maybe up on your website, whatever. You got to get the word out, right? We've had success with putting an ad and running a flyer through all the board. There's plenty of places that legitimately have purchased the list of licensees in your area, and they may allow a recruiting flyer to go out or a hiring flyer. Sometimes they don't let a recruiting flyer go out, but somebody looking for a job, they might let that go out. And then you've got to have a good screening process in place. In a nutshell, our process is this. You have everybody come in to send in their resume and not make a phone call. So everything needs to come in so you can screen a resume. You could have a series of questions that you could do, and you could jump onto a phone screening interview before you decide who you physically want to interview or do a Zoom interview with. And we actually have all that in our program, from questions you ask, how to not violate any kind of discrimination and fair housing, not fair housing, but you know what I mean, equal opportunity and so forth.
Right.
You can't talk about age and, all these kind of things. So, the person's status, if they're a single mom, all that's the stuff that can get you in some serious trouble. So we go through all of that and then go through how to conduct an interview questions. And then there's an offer and a select and hire and go to phase 2. So there's a true process. This is what an HR person is going to do. And you have to kind of do this in a minimal way. Agents that make mistakes, Matt, hire the first person that comes their way. And we have a little slogan here. It's actually something our friend David Squire, who's really doing a lot of great stuff coaching right now, is that and he didn't invent it, but I think of him when he says that you have to be slow to hire and quick to fire, right? So you let somebody go if they're not working out very quickly. You don't let them hang around and cause more issues or,
Yeah, and then also go back to the book, Good to Great, right? Make sure you have the right people in the right seats in the bus.
So you take a little bit of time. Yes, I know you don't have time for all this, but if you do this David helped us with this process. This is the process that he does and he has used and he continues to coach, and it is worth it. So
absolutely.
That's phase 1. And you may have a bunch of people apply. Indeed, you'll have everybody and their brother apply. And you'll have in there, you have to have a license. So that's why you want to screen. And Indeed, what I like is you get a dashboard and you can just reject it. There's a built-in email that you can customize saying, thank you, but you don't meet my criteria. So you're not getting inundated. So that's why you must have some kind of screening process in place. And I like Indeed for that. And then you can get it down to 3 or 4 people that you actually want to talk to.
Right.
And then the thing I didn't go into, and we do it in great detail in our program, is we recommend that you have people do a task. Okay, so they make it through your first initial screening things. On paper they qualify. Maybe you have a phone interview, or maybe you do this task first. And so let's say a task. Here's an example of a task. Maybe you want to be able to make sure they know how to use Excel because you use Google Docs or something. So you might have a simple task of, here's the information. Can you create a Google Doc and share it with me? Okay. Depending on what it is that you need them to do, like if there's something that you hate doing, like a spreadsheet or uploading or creating a flyer or whatever it is, get the person to do that, because you need to know right now, because they're going to say, I'm in the resume, I can do all these things. And then you're like, great, can you put this simple spreadsheet together for me? Here's the data. And then if the people don't want to do it as part of the hiring process, then you don't want them.
That's right.
So that's all part of the screening. This is all stuff you could do and automate before you even talk to someone. All right. So enough on that. Now you select the right person. Phase 2, onboard. Now this is where if you had a team operations and procedures manual and a checklist for onboarding your people, it would be easy. But the reality is you probably don't have that. So you're going to have to go through this process the first time, unless you're really super organized. and you are clear about what you want the person to do. But this is where you are going to have to train the person and help them and teach them what you want them to do. And this is going to be a 30+ day process. Yep. And a little painful. If you have the right person that has initiative, I mean, the key skills I'd be looking for is someone who has initiative, not someone who's saying, I'm sitting around collecting $15 an hour waiting for you to give me the next thing to do. You need someone who's like been there, done that, can jump in, loves all the stuff you don't like, and they're showing you ways to make your systems better. Or they're creating your systems for you, which
there
is
you go.
The majority of you. If they're building that operations manual as you teach them. So imagine Matt's my assistant, and I'm saying, let's walk through what we do when we list a property. And here's my rough checklist. Can you just, as we go through, one of the tasks I need you to do is by the end of the week, could you just put all this down in the operations manual and literally just write it out, get screenshots, and take my checklist and blow it out into a training manual, right? That's what we're talking about. Because in the big picture, if you're going to build an exit strategy and you have duplicatable systems that your buyer's agents are going to plug into, you want to be able to kind of show, and this person may not last with you. Now you have an operations manual to train the next person, or maybe they're going to move on to another role in your organization. You have a manual that one day, if you've got a viable, successful business, a team, then you could turn it over to someone else, or you could outright sell it, as we just found out a good friend of ours has just done. So
that's right.
So anyway, it has to start with that. And then finally, I like the 90-day period. This is where you establish some performance goals in the beginning. You review those at the end of 90 days. This is where maybe you have some of these projects like starting the operations manual. Are they on board? Are they getting it all down? Are they helping you? And then you can then set goals and almost do like what you should do with anybody. What are the goals for the rest of the year? This is where you can make those adjustments in the pay and compensation if you're going to do it. And then just talk about how you're going to go, how you communicate, and do you guys use chat, or how do you check in at the end of the day? I get this question all the time, Matt. How do I know my assistant's doing everything they need to be doing?
Right.
Well, you have to supervise. So because you've given them the job description, you maybe do a huddle every day, and we've done in the past, Matt, I do it with Cosmo now. Yep. What's our priorities for the day? And then we check in at the end of the day. All that can be done on a call, or it could be done in an email. It could be done in something that you use to stay organized, one of the systems out there like Slack or whatever. It could just be everybody's on Google Drive, and that's what we do. We have a schedule of what we're going to do, and then we can both see where we're at, and we check in along the way. So that's the hire process. Okay. Any questions on that, Matt? Did I cover everything? I think
you covered it. And we covered the high points on that. Obviously, there's a lot more information actually in our both the courses, really, the intro as well as, hey, where'd Jana Brown go? There she is. Intro and in the team builder course. So that's going to.
And we do we want to go in and talk a little bit about buyer's agents hiring team members as well? That was
you're right. There was another slide. I got ahead of myself, didn't I?
This is part 2. So this is
there we go.
So that was all admin, even though I talked a little bit about maybe a licensed assistant as starting out. But if we switch from admin, because I spend a lot of time on that, because I really think that many of you that are thinking about, boy, I just need some help, you could do it with just one person that's licensed, and they're your administrative person / helping you with license stuff as well. That could be enough for a lot of people. You could be super successful and have a nice balanced life, or you could go build a team. And if you're going to build a team, now we're talking about bringing in licensees underneath your structure to be in different roles. And the only thing I want to talk about here is I've put up on our screen here, team manager, buyer's agent, showing agent, or a traditional agent, meaning that they can list and sell. Those are the typical things that I see, meaning a team manager, first and foremost, is only necessary if you're going to have a lot of people. So if you had up to 10 people, probably smart to have a lead agent, a team manager who kind of manages that group for you and helps with recruiting and retention and coaching, and unless you're going to take that role. Okay. But if your role is going to be rainmaker, then somebody has to take care of the babies. Okay. That's just the way it is.
There you go. That is the truth.
Somebody has to take care of the kids because they're looking for that coaching and leadership and so forth. And you could jump in and help from time to time, but a team manager, as we really believe, is a key to that kind of a team if you're going to have multiple people. And again, the team manager you can hire someone who is helping you grow the team, who becomes the team manager and gets an override. Now, so you could start with a team manager. If my goal was, I want to get 10, 15 people in the next year, then I have someone who's not my partner now that has this experience, is seasoned, and they are going to be good at helping me recruit and retain the team. Then I might do something like this. So let's say I'm in a 100% company. I pay a monthly fee and a transaction fee. So I might say to the team manager, you come on in under me, and I'm going to put you on an 80 or 90% split for your own business. Okay, this is a great example. So I might even say 90% split. You're just giving me 10% of your deals. And then if you take one of my leads, then we're going to do that 75-25. Now, normally we're going to do 50-50 or 60-40 to our buyer's agents, because you're not paying this person a salary. You track it with me now. This is how you could put a deal together for a team manager. They're 90-10 on you, with you, 75 if you give them a lead, and then they're going to get an override as they start getting buyer's agents in, and you're going to give them maybe 10% of what you keep. So the money that comes in, and you split that in some capacity. That would be cool. That right there, you can find people all day that would want to do that. All right, so that's a team manager role, and right now they're helping you, and they're fitting into that position, but there's nobody to manage yet until you start bringing people in. But they're also possibly helping you, along with the admin, getting everything in order, putting the systems in place, getting ready to bring people on. So some teams, Matt, just have a buyer's agent, meaning the team leader says, I'm going to do all the listings. So that's another way that you would look at that they just do that. Now in the long run, a lot of people might not want to stay in that role, and you may have to have a retention sort of thing. Like if somebody's in the business for a while and all of a sudden starts to get listing leads, they're not going to want to give that over to you for 25% referral or 30% referral. So you may have to think that through. A showing agent is a whole nother role that is that maybe your buyer's agent can also get a piece of compensation, because you're not giving them the buyer. So I'm working with the Smiths here, but I want to I have a ton of people I'm working with right now, and I'm going to have Matt over here is going to be he's one of my buyer's agent, but he makes extra income because I meet my client, I build a rapport, I pick out the properties, and then I get Matt involved, and I tell to my clients, Matt's going to be the one who's going to show you the properties that we're going to pick out together or you're wanting to see. Then Matt goes out and shows them, comes back, I write the offer, but Matt gets compensated because he shows my buyer's clients, and maybe I get him to also go to the home inspection and go to the walkthrough. But in the interim, I'm kind of handling all the other stuff, and I keep that rapport. Now, what do you pay that? Well, that could be, there's two ways I've seen it done. Up to 10% of the commission is one way I've seen it done a lot. 10% of the commission is what you get for that. I had somebody the other day tell me they're paying somebody 25. I think that's a lot. If it's your lead and they just went out and showed 3 properties and they went to an inspection and went to a walkthrough, but that's up to you, so 10 to 20, 25% maybe. I mean, maybe if they're doing more, if they're writing the contract and all that, but now you're getting into, it's a 50-50 lead,
Right.
If you're still involved, so make sure you're clear on this, put it in writing. It could also just be, there's actually showing services out there right now, Matt. I have a client in Maryland, Sharon, who's using a showing service, and they charge $30 for a certain area per showing. So you hire them, you tell the client, hey, that's like an hour out of my zone, but I have an agent that's going to be able to open the door and show it to you and go in. And that is a set amount. Now, it brings up the issue to me about agency and, did you earn the, I haven't even thought about that. Did you earn the commission? If they're on your team, the answer is a lot easier because you're sharing commissions, and you're disclosing to the client that Matt is on my team and he's signed the supplemental duties owed as we do in Nevada. So anyway, interesting thing. So that's a showing agent. And then a traditional agent is someone who you bring on and they are just doing listings and sales. You may have benefits that you help them with and so on. Now, compensation for this is where it gets all confusing and what people need to do. So I kind of talked about ways that you could do the manager. And honestly, the 2 considerations that I'd have you look at is, if you're bringing licensees onto your team, are you going to pay one set amount, or meaning like whether they bring the lead or I give you a lead? I think that's a mistake personally. I think it's a recipe for always having to find buyer's agents, because in my opinion, what I think works best is you let them have another split if they bring their business, like it's their referrals. And then if they take your leads, that could be a lesser split because you procure the lead, you're paying for it, you need someone to help. And that could be 50-50. It could be 50-50 to start. If somebody, you can build in recruiting bonuses, not recruiting, retention bonuses. If somebody stays with you and closes, 10 of your leads, then maybe they get to go to 60%, whatever. You can, just use your brain and come up with what you think is going to keep somebody incentivized to stay with you, right? So that's my 2 cents. I think that you have that. I know people that are like strictly leads team, and they don't want any confusion, and they just want it to be 50-50. And that can work, except for what happens is the agent goes about a year or so in, and they're like, I'm done because now I have my own referrals, and I don't want to just be paying you 50% of my referrals. So if you're going to do that, you're going to burn through agents. And maybe you're okay with that. You just want to get people in and close as many deals at 50-50. It's up to you. But I believe in retaining people and building a long-term team. They're not always going to stay with you. That's true. That's just like a brokerage. You can't, nobody always stays with everybody. I mean, I can think of several people in some of my initial companies, I bet you can too, that are still with the same company, never left.
Yep.
It's not the majority, right, Matt?
It is not the majority.
Yeah. So, all right. So just look at that. And then the last piece on this, you've got to talk to your broker. Okay. I mean, I think this is disclosure 3 now. You can't just arbitrarily put this all together. You got to go find out what the team policies are in your company. You've got to find out. I just had an issue with one of my clients where the company does not want to deal with team variations and splits. They want it to be a certain way. It's very confusing. So you got to go find that all out, especially if you're already splitting with the brokerage and then there's franchise fees involved. How are we doing all the math? That's important because when you sit down to hire someone and you say, I'm going to give you on a 75% split, is that 75% of the 10,000 that came in?
That's right. Or
are we talking about the 8,500 that you kept? So it's not really 75%, it's 75 of your 85. And that's where the confusion comes in, and that all has to be clear in your contracts. And the best way to do it is to literally put a example in. Here's an example of a closing. Here's how much you're going to get. Okay, that would help people. So that is our.
And every company is going to be different. Just be warned. Don't assume.
Go find out. Go make sure you can
right.
do this. What are the policies and so forth, and then you can, an advocate for you can be your manager or your other staff members that are in your company could know of people that might want to fit on a team. And not all companies. There's many companies that do not allow you to bring anybody on your team. You have to find somebody from the outside. You have to know all those policies. So that, I think, kind of wraps up our three podcast series on the basics of team building, and we certainly have so much more. You can get a lot of more detail in the 12. We hand selected 12, and I re-recorded them a couple years ago. Not even 2 years ago. 12 key tips. We covered some of that in these 3 episodes, but that's completely free, and I think we even have a few downloads that are in there.
There are definitely
that you can get for free, right? But Matt's going to remind you that we do have a special running to the end of May.
We do have a special running until the end of May on both our Team Builder course and our Deluxe Team Bundle. If you use the coupon code TEAMS20, that's nice and easy. TEAMS20 between now and May 31st, you'll get 20% off both those courses. Team Builder retails for $9.97. The bundle retails for $14.97, and both of them are underpriced, even at retail cost. So your 20% off is going to be big time, getting you going for a very, very low price. So go check that out on WBNLcoaching.com.
Good stuff.
And Jen O'Brien, we had talked, like I said earlier, you had mentioned our good friend Rich Brocken, who we worked with, built a lot of his systems for him, Brocken Training Method. He has recently actually put the exit strategy part of our Team Builder program into place and has sold his company. We're going to have him on per his request, actually, which I thought was awfully nice of him, to talk about kind of the team building process at the end of it, because it's so funny. We talk about exit strategy all the time, but rarely do you get to someone who has had such success throughout the whole team process actually take it all the way through. So it's going to be an exciting conversation to have with him, and that'll be probably in a couple weeks. We'll see how that goes, but we'll keep you posted on that. So that'll really be the culmination of our team series here. But we're really happy for him. It's an exciting day for him. He
has some great insight. He's been working on this for quite a while, and I'm happy that he really does truly have a retirement. His retirement strategy has come to fruition.
Yep. It's very, very cool. All right. Like we said, everything is over at WBNLcoaching.com. Teams 20 is that coupon code that you can use when you're going to purchase those products. And anything else, Jen? What's going on with you this weekend?
Well, I'm still in Las Vegas, getting a lot of great stuff accomplished here and heading back to Clearwater Tuesday. And I have made the big decision to make the move back here. So yesterday I spent the day arranging my move, which was a little stressful, but is now in place.
Actually, that conversation we had yesterday actually made me have stress.
I've come down from the stress level because here's my last little tip of the day. If you are planning a move across country, make sure you start early, because apparently I should have done this a month ago and I would have saved about, I don't know, $1,000.
Well, it's not even starting early. It's make sure you actually book it early.
Book it early. It's like just it's literally like travel. Book it early. I research prices for pods and U-Haul, because that's what I'm doing, using pods, and I'm not going to drive across the country. I'm not 40 years old anymore.
Very cool. Hey, Jana Bryan, I forgot to tell you, last weekend, my sweet pea and I made a purchase to go see the baseballs next month. We're going to go see the Angels and Boston Red Sox. It's going to be a very fun game.
Oh my God, that's awesome! That Angels.
Very excited. We were looking for a Yankees game. Actually, is what we were looking for. But the Red Sox game is next week. It's on the last day of school, which is going to be freaking awesome. So a great way for Laura to start her summer. And of course, anytime I think of the baseballs, I think of Jana Bryan.
The baseballs, and of course my team is out of the hockey, so I'm bummed about that. I haven't even been watching, but I will say my circuit team, Tampa, is doing well, so they're in the playoffs in hockey, switching to the hockey.
Yeah, the last time we went to a baseball game was with you. So that's how many years ago that's been. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, we went to see the Angels, huh?
Yeah, we went to the Angels. We had such a good time that day. Remember, because we had pretty good seats, but we did a lot of walking around and drinking beer, and that was a fun day.
Yeah, where you spend $15 for an IPA.
That's cheap.
What would normally be a 6-pack, you get a nice one.
Yeah, exactly. That's very true.
But you get to keep the cup. It's a souvenir cup.
You get to keep your cup.
All right. It's all good, everybody. Have a happy rest of your week, your next week. And if you're thinking about building teams, you need to go check out our stuff. I think we've got some of the most unique, and I don't know, there's not tons of content out there. We definitely have it.
We do indeed. And you can get links to all of those things we talked about today over in our show notes at WBNLpodcast.com. This was episode 204. All right, everyone. Here's the story. You need to concentrate on this week. Live the freaking life you've dreamed. Life is too freaking short. So live the life you've dreamed and be forever wandering but not lost. Right, Jana Bryan?
Yes. I am forever wandering, and I'm definitely not lost.
You are forever wandering.